The rest of T1 has been playing pretty dang solid.
And here we go, making our way back over to our last Erangel of the day. Plane path going to be cutting straight over Georgia Pool and ending up over Lippo, so nothing too crazy, but we don't ever see anybody make their way down towards military base unless they think it's a terrible plane path anyway, so going to open up a lot of opportunities we didn't see in earlier games on drops. Specifically, I've got my eye on Milta Power. That's a normal phase drop, but Rumblers have been strong in points yesterday, and they might look to contest.
Looks like Rumblers are already out of the plane, so maybe that question
never gonna give it to me.
Answered a little bit. You know, the Rumblers, again, I talked to them a lot. They're really nice guys, and they said to me today, they think 20 to 30 points today will for sure guarantee them a spot in the finals. So I think for them, today is going to just be, hey, let's just play our game. Let's not try to contest anybody early. We don't really need to do that to get the points to get to the finals. Let's just, work things through that way.
And this is great if you're a FaZe fan, because now you're going to have a little bit more space for your team to work with back down over in this area. Yeah, they're going to be able to go back to, I would say, their comfort drop. So nothing too crazy coming into play here, but I think it's all about infantry right now. Can they replicate the play styles that we were kind of expecting from them? We saw them be very aggressive early in the group stage, and then that kind of died off as well as their points started to. It almost like they got in their own head. But now they're starting to be a little bit more comfortable inside of this map and starting to play it the way I feel like they want to play.
And of course, here we go. We're going to start off with the Pachinki battle. Again, Duya bounces a grenade. It doesn't get inside here. He's coming up with that double barrel shotgun. Opts to not go all the way up the stairs. Nerf has bounced out of the window himself and isn't interested in this fight yet.
We got shotguns, we got Tommy guns, we got UMPs. They're going crazy. That's another Force member down right there. So down to 3, trying to figure out how they're going to handle this. We can see that it's not quite the chaotic drop we saw in the earlier games, but it's still very contested around this location. The new circle is popped, very centralized. I was hoping for something a little bit more interesting, but maybe the next circle will give it to us. But we got a lot going on in Pachinki right now, so I'm not going to complain.
You jinxed it. And once again, it's Duya coming out as the first person to go down for Entus Force. Now, I think Genesis is definitely going to deny this. There is no way the other members of Entus Force are going to be able to get here in time, especially with Sungjang dropping so far outside of this, and all he's got is a mutant right now. So there isn't much going on here. What I thought coming into today, that maybe potentially Entus Force might try to up the aggression a little bit to try to bop Genesis out of here, not only because they want to take control of Pachinki, but also going into the finals, assuming they make it, they want to be the sole team in control of Pachinki.
This was a very interesting play coming up from Force, opting to be a little bit aggressive with the double barrel, trying to run up in the face when they have 2 members that didn't really drop Pachinki proper and on the outskirts. That put them already in a disadvantaged position. I wonder if that's kind of one of the reasons they opted to try to go for that aggression, because they knew they were outnumbered, but it just ended up blowing up in their face.
Well, the Korean teams love the shotguns, and once they get one in their hands, they feel really confident in these city battles. But look at this. Look at these angles that Genesis has to hold down. Incredible shooting, first of all, from Profi. But we see this again. Genesis knows the angles inside of Pachinki where they can get these cheeky little pickups.
So it should be noted that Force is back over towards the west, where there are a lot of corresponds along that road, so they're going to be able to get the utility out of that. There is still the correspond that's going to be over in Pachinki proper that Genesis should be able to walk away with, but I feel that's why we keep seeing Genesis in the early game all stacked up into one car, because that's the one car that they can get, and it feels like Force is taking all the rest of them away. In a circle like this, they're not going to have to rotate too far, but neither one of these teams really want to stay in Pachinki for the remainder of the game. They're going to try to move out there.
Absolutely, they got to get going. Let's talk about a few other teams out and about on the map. I want to talk about the Milta Power situation. Afrika Freaks Fatal has taken over Milta Power from FaZe. FaZe moved over to Milta. Not a huge difference between those two, essentially, but it's kind of interesting to note. Other than that, you don't have too much else going on, except I would say Entus Ace way up in Severny, which is definitely not a comfortable place for them.
AHQ is just running right up on this complex. Could be another problem for Force. Full on defense. You can see grabbing what little he can right now, trying to get set up, as it's going to be a full push coming up from AHQ. Force is trying to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this situation? Do I just play it? Do I go for a kill point off of it? No reinforcements capable of coming through. Kale's got the hillside back down the south, but spray comes out. Does manage to get one, trying to go for the flush onto it, but it's a lot of bullets coming out of the... So you got to be very cautious. The rest of AHQ is now starting to make their push off the side of it, and you can see reaction coming out from Force, moving to the second story.
Yeah, Yanli's trying to get underneath this grenade, but he is able to get up the stairs just enough in time. A really nicely placed grenade by Sungjang, using a smoke there as well to continue to give himself some kind of cover and support. Yanli does not know that Sungjang moved into the other room. He's using the noise from the smoke.
I like this. Get a little bit more time. Let Kale get into position. Provide some cover on the outside. You just have to make sure you hold down the second story. That's what that grenade bought them. Now Kale can move back down off of this, provide a little bit of support as to what's happening in this situation, because Force cannot afford to lose another member at this stage.
And I'm looking at the map, and right now, none of the other members of AHQ are moving in on this, so they might feel like they're going to rely on Yan Li. It's just Milk left, but it is going to be Kale getting Yan Li on the stairs.
Nice, unexpected angle coming up for that. That's going to be an easy flush out, and now control of this location goes over to Force as AHQ is separated away from it.
Really nice job there by Sungjong, buying a ton of time for Kale to get in there. Heady, smart up plays from him, and that is going to be a nice little start here for Entis Force despite losing Duya early.
And I like this. Go ahead and make sure to clear around. They don't know how many members could be potentially still in the spot, so still look around for it. Don't just rush in and think that you've got it won. Meanwhile, you can see W-Click looking back over towards infantry. Everybody's kind of making their way up on this location. That's just just towards the east of Pachinki right now. That's that popular Potato Mountain location that a lot of people like to play, but so many teams opting into center. Now, do note, there is the river that's going up towards the north. We really have Ace that's up there right now and one of the members for Red Canids. Everybody else is opting back down towards the southern part of that river.
Well, it's just weird because it's really hard to come across from the northern side to the southern side of the river. There's a lot more compounds along the southern side of the river to gatekeep it. So ideally, you don't want to be on the northern side. Now, that being said, I'd still say there's maybe like a 20-25% chance this circle goes north.
And see, this is what was happening on the other side with AHQ. They got called out. ZGG01 managed to take down another member of it, and then everything started coming apart for AHQ, so Milk just had to leave.
Yeah, this guy has been really powerful for 4 Angry Men. This whole team, very, very strong. Right now seems to be our strongest Chinese team, coming through being one of the only Chinese team that came through directly into the semifinals. The other ones had to fight their way through the elimination stage.
Aspu finding himself in a little bit of a spot as Joy's taking a couple of shots back over towards him, trying to get control over these buildings north of the river right now. It's an odd little skirmish to go on, but the rest of the Red Canids are separated down around Razak, so not any support capable of coming anytime soon.
Yeah, you can see they're just trying to fan out Entis Ace. They know that pretty much most of the northern part of the circle is theirs at this point. Nobody else is really going to want to take that risk. You just have one member of Red across, and as well, you have one member of Gen G on the other side of the river just to establish beachheads in case there is a drastic shift.
I mean, there's always the chance of the hard shift up towards the north, and that's where things could get a little bit more chaotic. Everybody's opting towards center right now, just trying to play the math game, hoping that they don't have to make another big rotation out of it. I mean, we're still at 60 alive at this stage right now, and looks like Joy's decided, it's not really worth staying contained in the spot, so instead let's do a little bit more scouting and regroup.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see FaZe, they have moved over to the northwestern part of Farm, so they're rolling up on the backside of Infantry and W-Click potentially. Afrika Freaks Fatal has made a longer rotation, more northern. They could find themselves on the backside of T1, potentially south of Yasnaya, unless they want to keep going more north, but it gets a little more dangerous the more north you get because of all those fields.
I love this position that we see FaZe Clan playing from. There's a lot of good sight lines from this. Unfortunately, not a lot of teams around them, but depending on how rotations could come into play, they can mess around with what's going on around that farm location to the south and take care of anybody that might be pushing around shelter to the north of them. Meanwhile, you just have a couple of little buildings that you can play around there, so you can still have some defense if people do push up right on top of it.
There aren't a lot of angles onto that part of the road, and now we're jumping over to 4 AM. Once again, they are on the opposite side of Entis Force. They still have one member over in the school, going with a, looks like a 2-1, 3-1 potentially. I can't see the other member. Oh, it's a 2-2. They've got another member in the apartments as well when I look over at the minimap. So looks like they want to spread out, control a lot of the center part of the circle.
Everybody always asks, Matt, why do you hate the players so much, and why do you want these crazy circles coming in?
Who asked you these questions?
It's because the fact that I love watching PUBG, but whenever you get these centralized circles, everybody knows how to play the math on it. Everybody's just hoping it's going to pop up in the center. Does go a little bit towards the north, so everybody back down towards the south is going to have to figure out how to handle the rotation. But this is what you want to see. You want to see people have to adapt to a situation. That's what PUBG is all about. And when you end up with centralized circles, it's just kind of comfortable. It's a lot of hot shots back and forth, trying to gather information so you can figure out how you can make that next rotation.
All right, Forever is watching W-Click make their way into these shacks on the bottom side of the hill to the south of school. We'll see if he wants to pull the trigger on any of this or if he's going to wait for the rest of 4 AM to group up before they start putting some shots in there. You can see you can hear a few bullets clinking against some grass in the cars there, so Looks like 4AM going to take that radio tower hill up there.
Depending on how Wayless tries to play this, if he pushes this a little bit more aggressive, he might be able to see Psycho moving into the building, but it's just going to be one of those near misses as nobody's going to get sightline back towards each other. Wayless still trying to hold control of this high ground, overlooking the Badlands back over towards Sunken City location. So with this, Milk is still just praying. Nobody opts into going into these yellows. AHQ's had a rough start.
They're pretty popular compounds from time to time, but with the way this circle has shifted, I wouldn't expect anybody really to want to necessarily go into them. I would expect the Rumblers to just kind of bypass these at this point. Rumblers are up on the hill getting some information right now, just making sure their rotations are going to be clear as they head eastward.
So 4 Angry Men haven't had to move too much yet. They like to drop around this location, just getting better sight lines, separating out just a bit, trying to control the flatlands and the hills next to them. So meanwhile, they can take these shots like this and force and contain. That's what you want to do at this stage. You want to take a couple of shots to make everybody afraid to move, because if you gather more information, you can lock them down, and then whenever they do have to move later, capitalize off of it and get those kill points.
And you'll see these teams make these really aggressive, wide splits if they're confident in their shots, because if you can start hitting people in vehicles as they're moving, Senya, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Is he going to stop and get the shot?
He's just waiting for it, seeing if anybody spots him out. I don't think that Ribbo was seen. How's Ribbo not seen him in this position? I mean, he is right next to the rock, but looks like he's very caught up in what's going on, because remember that 4 Angry Men have been taking the shots at him.
Ribbo just didn't even look that way.
Zenya's just like, okay, well, let's just see if somebody else kills him at this point, feeding a little bit of information. He only has vision on one, so that's probably why he didn't take the shot. He has to assume that there might be other angles that he could have retaliation come back to him on. So instead, playing the patience game right now.
So some big rotations coming through outside of the map right now. FaZe has made, and Infantry have made a very long rotation all the way around the lake. Senya finally going to pull the trigger and get Sills in here.
I mean, that one was too out in the open. For as much trigger discipline as you want to try to bring in, at some point you got to be like, no, okay, I just got to take that point away.
Stolen.
W-Click has to be cautious, and yep, Forever manages to pick that one up off of it. So everybody on Na'Vi a little bit angry off of that one, especially after how long he was scouting it out. To finally get the down onto it and then somebody to steal away that kill, that just hurts the soul a little.
That is one of the most frustrating things when you make a really nice calculated shot, you buy your time, you get it down, and then someone else is just there. They're like, gunshots? Hey, look, free kill. Thanks, buddy. Here's that FaZe rotation I was talking about. They went way around the northern side of Yasnaya. Now, they might bump into Entis Ace, who has set up kind of dead center in front of them there. T1 as well has come over and is blocking the Yasnaya bridge, which is going to force Infantry back. This is a really smart rotation by FaZe. They know that coming in through the southeastern part of the circle is going to be chaos. Coming up through the north, there's going to be a lot less teams in their way.
Wide, long rotations very early in the game. It's one of the things that FaZe tends to like to do at this stage, kind of be patient, let it situate out. Looks like Razak is going to be our centralized location, so all those guys playing those hills now finding themselves in a little bit of trouble. 4 AM still has the capability to gatekeep, so we're going to have to see how people rotate around. The river cutting right through this circle is going to make rotations so messy.
This is an absolutely brutal circle for these teams. One way or another, you're rolling the dice to try to pick the right side of the river. You can see W-Click making a mad dash across, trying to get across the firing lines of 4 Angry Men, as well as Entis Force, but Nerf is going to back Sungjong off there. He takes some damage. Rivo took a bit himself, but he's able to get up on the backside. His car's afire. Careful!
That would have been so bad. So do manage to get this little bit of a dip, but they have to be very cautious of that hill back behind him. Got to give them, they decided to send it. It comes out for him, but Force looks like they know, okay, exactly where they're going to position at. Kale's trying to get a little bit of oversight in this. A lot of teams opting to play back down towards those Badlands locations, use those hills. Meanwhile, other teams just full on gunning it through. You can see Ghost is trying to cut their way right over this building complex. Fairly strong. It's got the walls around the outside of it, but no real teams around this position except for Afrika off towards the east.
Love this rotation by Ghost. It gives them solid control over the eastern part of Razak, as well as a little bit of control over the bridge to the north of Razak. So I really like this move by them. Very safe rotation, came in there no problem, but Na'Vi might be in trouble. DJ Boy's got the AK. And you're stopped at. Doozy is going to go down.
Senya gets retaliation shots back over for it, gets the down and the flush for this, so probably gonna have to run back over there and pick up his friend. Nope, actually, Pokemaldo is just going to go ahead and do that for him, but they're going to have to continue their rotation as they are still not yet in the safe zone and has to be very cautious. The other members of VC are kind of set up along this path. They might have sightlines depending on how they play this, and you can see that it was Bestalosh that was kind of playing up towards that hillside. They did see him for just a second.
It's the danger of this 1-3 split that we see, especially at Asia, a lot. you kind of feast or famine off of it. If your leader or your shot caller or your single man gets caught out, yeah, they might be able to pick up a kill, but then all of a sudden you're in a bad position. You're outside of the circle. Na'Vi knows kind of where you are, and they're allowed to rotate around you.
So a lot of teams migrating up towards the north right now. It looks like Na'Vi is going to follow in their footsteps. Infantry is kind of posted up in front of them as well. Taking the shots back over towards Senya. That's going to be a down from the side of it. It's going to be a Freak of Freaks that actually buys a little bit more space for Senya to decide to stop, figure out what's going on, and get a control of a little bitty dip, I think, right on the edge of the zone.
Basically, from where Infantry and Na'Vi are up to a Freak of Freaks Fatal, there is quite a bit of open space. You can see Navi's going to make a go for it anyway. Oh, boy.
The rock came out of nowhere. Everybody's stacking up. This is bad. They do manage to get away with it as everybody's having to reload. Shadow just goes, nah, bro. This is our location, but the shots are coming in from the side of it. A lot of damage back over towards the Freaks, so they're just going to step back away on this, and Na'Vi might have a push that they can potentially make off of it, and Lambu has to run upstairs. He just looks back down for a ghost spray onto one of them. Does manage to get it. Trying to look back for the flush onto it, but knows it's risky. Meanwhile, you can see Style playing around the side of this, trying to see if they can get a flank, provide some form of support. Aduzi knows he's in a lot of trouble right now. The numbers favor everybody from the Freaks looking off on this. It's going to be Aduzi just trying to hold the angle on it, but it's so many pushes that are coming through. Gets a spray on one of them, but it's going to be sneaking up back behind it, and the Freaks do manage to take him down.
The Freaks with some solid defense. Now will Infantry try to pounce on this situation? Actually, Infantry is moving off. You can see them on the far right-hand side of the map. They aren't interested in this. Red Cannon now battling out their LAT AM partners. 2 down here for WClick. It looks like the Canids have the advantage, and they are going to take it.
That one hurt. They just crashed in the side of that, and that was instant destruction over towards WClick. Rumblers playing down around the side of this, but you can see FaZe Clan has their sights back over towards Infantry. They do get one of them. That's going to force Infantry to make a push off in a different angle for this. So FaZe coming out big with that little bit of a hold right there, managing to hold back Infantry with that down. Now it's everybody playing along the bridges, making a push along this. We might see VC make a push along a similar line, and FaZe Clan is just set up and waiting.
Circle has gone north, and FaZe played the gamble very, very well here. They have a lot of room to work with up on the northeastern part. A lot of other teams now making their transition. Entis Force could run right into their sister team, Entis Ace. Here come the Rumblers way out on the edge. They love to play the edge of the circle. They are masters of making these positions work.
A little bit of a skirmish going on between Genesis and Gen G. Meanwhile, you can see Domu realizing, okay, there's a lot of people that are pushing back over here. I believe he heard the cars just a second ago. So just going to go ahead and play back behind that. He does have the giant UAZ giving away his position back behind him, so has to be very careful about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. People are going to be pretty aware of where Domu is. And long skirt coming up here.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's like, why is there just a random UAZ next to this rock? Surely there's nothing going awry in this location. Shots come through, and he actually gets dropped off of it. That's going to be a nice dome coming up from Domu, but the retaliation comes on the other side of it. But here comes Fatal as well, pushing on this. Shots come through, trying to spin it out, trying to hold it together. BC holding a nice little bridge troll position.
Yeah, Tide not interested in trying to fight that one out just yet. Style is able to get over the bridge, taking only a little bit of damage. Lambu as well up here for a Freak of Freaks Fatal. He's going to go up on the rocks. Tide, meanwhile, has opted to play the troll position underneath the bridge. Let's see if he can make anyone pay the tax.
Pushing back over to where we saw Ghost Gaming stop at. You're going to try to play that low area, that little bit of a lip to deny vision onto Ghost. That helps out the rotation by quite a bit, but there's a lot of people on the other side of this bridge they have to be very cautious about. Shots down starting to come in from the side of it, but they're just going to go ahead and play this dip by a little bit more space. But that means that they're losing out on a lot of information and could find themselves in a very bad spot as Tide pushes back down towards Todd.
Style gets caught knowing where Tide was, but Tide had already moved out of there. So now NN, the sole surviving member of Fatal, moving through, going to try to find some kind of points. He's rolling up on the backside of Ghost right now in the southern eastern part of the circle. So curious to see what we're going to see from NN. AFF does a good job of snaking out some points for themselves. We saw it in a previous game, and curious to see if they can make it work again.
Rumblers laying down right next to Gen G. Depending on how Gen G rotates, they have to be very cautious on this. Micro5 finding himself in a very close position to them. Shots starting to go back and forth. Looks like it's going to be the long distance Rumblers on the side of this. It's going to be Cherry Poppins taking the shots onto this and force Gen G back and away from it. Looks like they might hop into their vehicles, but starting to get a little messy as we still have the river in play just to the north of Razak. So a lot of people are going to have to continue their rotation. A lot of these edge teams are going to have to find a way to push through these very fortified spots now.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really challenging for some of these teams that are still on the south, Genesis and Ghost, to potentially get across that river. Usually it's a tough proposition. Now the grenades are coming out onto Gen G. Smokes
Waldo
are down as well.
Waldo's got the spray. He's got the angle, trying to get more damage back over towards the car. Trying to line this back up. As you can see, Gen G's trying to play both smokes now. Grenades are starting to come through, but Rumblers are just pushing in front of them. Going to end up walking right up next to Loki. So you can hear now, everybody's just listening for footsteps, trying to localize where the push is coming from, but it's going to be a third party coming up from Ace, just spraying into the smokes. Going to make it a little bit more dangerous for everybody on this part of the circle.
On the backside of this, VC Gaming was eliminated. Circle has moved forward. Loki going to run right alongside. See if he can catch a Rumbler. He's going to get Waldo. He's going to get the flush as well. So an important point here for Gen G and Loki, but this is not the start to the day that they have wanted. Erangel has not gone their way.
So now everybody's just running right in front of the blue. There's a lot of utility that's already been used at this stage. You can see it's going to be H-Win looking back down towards Ghost Gaming. He's got himself a nice little sniper tower that he can play around, but realizing it might be a little bit too hot. Going to go ahead and throw down the smokes, try to get away from it, and good shots coming up from Shrimzy. He's going to get down onto him.
Shrimzy with an excellent spray, catching H-Win in movement. T1 might have to play blockade against FaZe up on the northeastern part of the circle. Uba's going to find loss from the remnants of the battle between Gen G and the Rumblers.
FaZe playing along the edge on the hunt for kills right now. Very separated and has a lot of control over this part of the circle, just trying to force everybody to hide from them right now. Uba is just going after anything that he sees moving as well. It makes
This is impressive stuff from FaZe, fighting on two different fronts right now and kind of making it work. Now Fuzzface does get knocked by Laka. Here comes the aggression from T1, trying to lock this down. Mexi is knocked as well. It is just Uba left. Adder gets some decent damage. Uba's backing down. Oh, he's going to get caught by Cherry Poppin'.
It's going to be a shot in the back. Now it's going to be Rumblers continuing on the same path. You can see T1 still playing up along that hillside. Rumblers looking at that car thinking, okay, maybe we go for that. And look at that shot off on the side angle. Gets an easy drop onto him. So now Microfry's got to figure out what is he going to do. Running along the side of it, T1 takes shots back down towards him, and Rumblers go out in 10.
Really nice stuff there. A little bit of help from Rang with the boomstick. He catches Cherry Poppin' there. Now we're back over NA versus NA. I know you guys say you see this all the time, but here we go. Profi's going to get knocked by Shrimzy. 2 more members left for Genesis, 3 up for Ghost.
He's playing this position, trying to get a little bit more information on the angle. K-Mine's got the high side on this, just looking back down, trying to figure out how Ghost is going to make their push up. Circle does go back over to the north, so this fight is not inside the safe zone. It's going to need to be resolved very, very quickly, depending on how the push points come through. Keep in mind, 4AM is still holding down that eastern part of the circle as well as the bridge, so they have a lot of control in this position. So we're going to have to keep an eye on how people push into that location, but the push is still coming up from Ghost. They know they need to make their way through this, and Genesis is just bunkering down for it. Nerf with a really sneaky angle, depending on how Ghost pushes into this. It could be hazardous. Not going to be able to see it. Nerf goes for the reposition, and that's going to be a sneaky push in coming from Ghost. Nerf is just listening for this. He's actually going to walk right by them.
Nerf plays a little rope-a-dope with these guys. He's outside the building. Look at this. Shrimzy and Vegas are totally lost. They're like, where did Nerf go? We know he's in here. Meanwhile, K-Mine's trying to provide some cover. Nerf tries to peek around the corner, doesn't get much with it. He's got to hold this down. 1 down, but they're going to find Nerf here. Vegas clutches it out. Now he gets taken down. 4AM is getting in on the action.
Taking the shots on the side of it. They have the high ground looking back over towards this. Ghost got the moral victory in getting the down, but they also had one of their members go down inside of it, trying to figure out how they're going to handle K-Mine that's still holding down that position. K-Mine can't move from the spot either. So really, both of these teams know they have to go. The blue is coming in back behind them. K-Mine's just trying to find the angle. Lots of damage back over towards him. His feet are taking some damage as well. He does manage to make it back around behind this, but that was a lot of damage back down towards him.
K-Mine has been excellent so far this tournament, but the reinforcements from 4AM. ZGG made a rotation into the middle of the circle to cover more of this angle, to try and get some more kills off of this. K-Mine does get taken down by Vegas. Ghost has a really tough slog ahead of them to get across that river.
So you took down Genesis, but where do you go next, Ghost? Because the fact that 4 angry men have you in their sights, just trying to figure out what they're wanting to do on this. You can see Ghost is like, all right, we need to get it down, but look at how many teams are looking back down towards this. We've got 4 angry men on one side of it. We've got Red Canids on the other. Ghost is just trapped out there, and they're now down and out. There's just nowhere to go.
Yeah, Lou is able to find Shrimzy. They were trying to hide themselves enough, but it wasn't quite well enough. And here is Helen. He got knocked for T1. This is what I was talking about. I'm worried about Helen getting caught out a lot for T1. Joy and the other members of Entis Ace are 4 strong, rolling up behind T1. T1 is in a lot of trouble right now. They are getting torn apart.
There was the shots back down towards Wayless. He does go down and flushed. So now there's 3 members of 4 Angry Men looking around, still just trying to play this position. But keep in mind, over towards the west, they don't have a lot of good sight lines onto that. Sure, they've got control over this spot, but if it does shift away from them, that's going to make their life a little bit harder as they don't know where all these teams are already set.
Look at this. Milk has somehow found himself
the hero
in this situation. The hero for AHQ, despite losing 3 members very early on. And look at this. There's still some river inside of this circle, Matcham.
So, gonna come up big for 4 a.m. Milk not having far to go. Red Canids having themselves a nice position, as well as Force. Kale still alive, playing off this couple of shots now going back and forth between 4 Angry Men and Red Canids. And that's gonna unlock Ace. They hear this up towards the north of it, and they might choose to step back down towards 4 Angry Men. Come up back behind them. It could be a very detrimental third party.
Yeah, Forever has a really tough job holding down that beach. There isn't much hard cover down here except for a rock next to him. Other than that, you've got some steep angles, so you can make that work pretty well, but trying to hold down 4 players on the other flank is a difficult proposition for him right now.
Oh, speaking of difficult things to try to pull off, use a vehicle and run it into this circle. It's going to draw a lot of attention. It's almost like shooting up a flare and saying, hey, shoot at me and let the rest of my guys sneak in back behind that, but he does manage to get away with it, so they have a little bit of cover to play from this spot, but it's very dangerous.
3 Korea teams in each other's faces right now. Genji, Esther, and Loki still kicking. They managed to weather the storm from the Rumblers. They're coming in. Kale and the other members of Entis Force are down, so it is just him and, oh boy, Milk.
I like this. Let Red Canids cover for you. Let them do all the fighting. Just creep in back behind them until somebody turns around and looks at you. You don't have to really do anything. Let them take the risk. See, look, Psycho goes down, and now he can look up and go, hey, I want that point, maybe. But no, that's another member going down for Red Canids. So now it's just back down to Haspu, who's going to be playing the backside of that. If he goes for a res onto this, we might actually see Milk be able to take them down. Meanwhile, Ace trying to make a little bit of a push forward, find the right angle to approach onto this. And yep, gonna walk up and say, hey, thanks, buddy. I'm gonna go ahead and take that one.
Heartbreaking for the Red Canids. They were in such a prolonged battle with 4 a.m. They didn't really expect someone to be behind them. Milk is able to clean it up and get some more big points for his team. Kale under fire. Milk is now trying to get into Genji. He's
See
trying to
what you can get
onto Esther.
At this point, you're just playing with anything that you want to go for. ZGG walking up right next to Ace. Gonna go ahead and throw down the grenade. Kale managed to get one back out of it, and now we can see a lot of damage coming back over to Ace. They have nowhere to go. They're pincer between so many positions.
Mickey is trying to hold down the line for Ace. They had no idea 4 a.m. was coming up over that hill as they tried to push into the surviving member of Force. A grenade comes up and over. ZG looking to get the peek onto Mickey. He is going to get it. That is going to be Entis Ace down in 4th place.
4 Angry Men has a grenade that drops back over towards him, but they should be able to get this res off. Really, it's just Genji's Loki and Milk who's still alive that they have to contend with. We're now down to 5, and it's 3 up for 4 Angry Men and 2 solos.
I mean, this is looking like it could be the second win of the day for this team from China. They are playing absolutely out of their minds right now.
Look at the points so far. 37 that they've managed to stack up. These guys are just murdering everything in the lobby. Loki got to figure out how he's going to handle this position. Really, Milk hasn't even made it into the safe zone yet, but Loki looks like he's going to be the front man pushing back over towards ZGG. ZGG has to be very cautious on this. Milk's going to opt into playing back down towards the west and the south, so might be able to find another sneaky little angle.
Well, the real question here is Loki. He came up big for Genji when they needed him most. It is starting to get desperate for them. This is going to be 3 more games after this left for them, and here comes a great grenade from ZGG. That might be right on the money.
Oh, he narrowly survives that. It's going to bounce away from him. Will the next one connect? I think it's cooked well enough. And yes, there you go. That's another 4 Angry Men. Team elimination coming up, so now it's just down to Milk.
All right, Milk, let's see what you've got. You've done a fantastic job to get here. Can you close it out and give Chinese Taipei a win?
Oh.
There's Louis, spotted him out, and
no! 4 Angry Men walking away with another round victory.